Hello friends, welcome to SahuStudies. In this video, I am going to discuss about aggregate by key function in PySpark. So let's discuss about what is aggregate by key function. Aggregate by key function is a fundamental transformation function. So whenever we want to do any kind of a transformation on RDD, we can use aggregate by key function. It is optimized and broader transformation. Why it is optimized? Because whatever the aggregation function we want to apply with the help of aggregate by key, first it does locally. Locally means on each and every partition, it implement the aggregate function. Because of that, the amount of data reduced. And it is a broader transformation, means it will going to shuffle the data across different executor over the network. And if the data is small, the shuffling process will become very fast. It is helpful if there is a requirement of aggregation and the input and output RDD are different. So most of the case, whenever we are doing any kind of a project, so whatever the input we are going to use for the transformation, the output may not be same as the input. So this kind of a requirement if you have, then we should use aggregate by key function. It support aggregation such as mean, max, average, sum, count, etc. It aggregates value of each key using combine function and a neutral zero and return different type of value for that key. So let's discuss this point in detail. So why we are using aggregate by key? We use aggregate by key if you want to do ag aggregation of value for each key. So whenever we are going to use aggregate by key, aggregation will going to start on each and every partition. So with the help of this zero value, what Spark generally does, it initialize the accumulators for on each and every partition, and then it returns a different kind of a value for that particular key. If you are not able to understand this point at this point of a time, it's okay. Whenever I will going to show you with the help of a practical implementation how aggregate by key generally works in PySpark, you will able to understand this aggregate by key function. So it is useful when you need to perform both per key aggregation and change the value type during the aggregation process. It takes two functions, sequence function and the combine function. This we can discuss now. Discussed just that whenever there's a need to do aggregation based on the key, we can use aggregate by key function. It takes two argument. So whenever we are going to use aggregate by key function, it takes two argument, and both argument is a kind of a function. One is reduce by key function and second is combine function. So let's discuss what is reduced by sorry, not reduced by key. I am pardon. Okay, it's a sequence function and the combine function. So what the sequence function will going to do? Sequence function will going to implement the aggregation on the per partition level. When aggregation completes on per partition level, then this combine function will going to collect all the results which generated with the help of a sequence function on different partition, combine them and produce the final output. So this is why we are using these two different functions. The aggregate by key operation allow you to aggregate the value for each key while maintaining the aggregate value type different from the original type. As we discussed that the aggregate by key operation will going to allow any kind of aggregation on the per key level, and the input and output could be different. Let's discuss this aggregate by key with the help of this pictorial representation. So suppose this is a one partition, this data sits on the different partition, and this data sits on different partition, and this could be on different executor. On each and every partition, this sequence operation will going to run. So this is a kind of a function. So as I told you here, that whenever we are going to use aggregate by key function, it take two argument. One is a sequence function and one is combined function. So I'm just talking about the sequence function. What sequence function will going to do? It merge value in the partition. So here it is merging the value in the partition. So let's discuss the output. This is the output which will going to generate when sequence function completes. So it's generate the output like this. This is the key, and this is the value which each key has. For instance, this is the IT. Here the IT has two value. One is here and another is here. What is the value of the IT? Here is 1 and here is 1. That's why the value looks like this. This is the IT and this is the aggregate 1 and 1. Same for management. If you see, management has two value. Here is the management and here is the management. Two times it is appearing in this partition. That's why it's combining the key, and whatever the value it is represented like this. Same for marketing, same for finance, and same for operation. This kind of activity will be done on each and every partition. So suppose this is the raw data. Suppose the data may be 10 MB, right? When the sequence function implements over this partition, the data could reduce to 1 MB. So there is a drastically reduction of the data when sequence operation generally takes place over a partition. Once this data gets generated with the help of a sequence function, again this merge value, I am just talking about this function, this one, combine function. It's combine all the output which is generated on each and every partition and creates a different partition. So here no shuffling process is happening. Shuffle. What shuffling process will going to do? It shuffles the data from different executor over the network to create this partition. Right. So here we can see this is the IT, this is the key, and what is the value? There are three sets of value. This one, and this one. This is coming from here. You can see the second one is coming from this partition, and third one is coming from this partition. We can also validate this management key, right? The value is this one and this one. Same. Third is marketing, finance, and operation. So this value is getting generated with the help of a combine function. That combine function will going to combine all the result which is generated on each and every partition when sequence function implemented on top of that partition. So here is a brief explanation that how whenever we are going to use aggregate by key, Spark internally, how it will going to implement aggregate by key on top of the value or on the top of the data. Data would be a more appropriate word here. So I am going to do exercise here. In this exercise, what I am going to do, first I am going to create this list. This list has a required data, and the data is in the form of key and the key and value pairs. So IT is the key, this is the value. IT is the key, this is the value. Operation is the key, this is the value. Operation is the key, this is the value. Same for the management, same for the operation, and same for the marketing. Once this list defined successfully, then what I am going to do, I am create this RDD with the help of a Spark context by parallelize method by passing a object which has the data. So this is the list object which we have created here. This has the data, and this data will getting converted into this RDD. Once this RDD gets created, so what I'm just going to do, I'm creating two functions, sequence function and the combined function. This is the sequence function and this is the combined function. We have already discussed about what is the sequence function and what is the combined function. Once this two function gets defined, so what I'm going to do, on the top of this RDD, I'm calling aggregate by key function, and I'm passing this neutral zero. So neutral zero, I have already discussed that it will going to initialize the accumulator over each and every partition. And this is the sequence function, and this is the combined function which we have defined here. We have already discussed about sequence function and the combined function. So what sequence function will going to do, it will going to implement aggregate function on each and every partition, and combined function will going to combine all the result which getting generated with the help of a sequence function on each and every partition. And once this RDD gets created with the help of aggregate by key function, when we are going to print with the help of a collect function, what collect will going to do? Collect will going to convert this RDD into the array, and we are printing the array. So we can say this is the key and this is the value. This is the sum, because here we are just doing the sum aggregation. So this is the total sum of the operation, and this is the number of records which present when the key is operation. This is the IT, this is the total sum of the IT value, and this is the number of records which present in the RDD for the key IT. Same for management and same for the marketing. Okay, so let's do this exercise over Databricks. Let me create a notebook. Let convert this. No, this is the, we are working for PySpark, so let make it Python, not Scala. Let me rename it as aggregate by key function. So to do this exercise, so we need data. So I have created a list to save time. I have created a list which has the required data. So let me copy it. This is the data. This is the key, and this is the value. This is the key. This is the value. Same. The data is in the form of key and value pair. So let's define this list. This list defined successfully. Let's create the RDD. How we are going to create the RDD? With the help of a spark context dot parallelize function, and here we are passing the object which has the data. So this is the list object has the data which we have defined here. So this RDD generated successfully. Now to implement aggregate by key function, first we need to define two functions. One is a sequence function and another is combined function. So let's define sequence function. And how we are going to define it? We are going to define it with the help of a lambda. And here we are passing two argument x and y. And what we are returning? We are saying returning this one. So this is first function. Let's define second one, that is the combined function. And how we are going to define this function? We are with the help of a lambda. Here again we are passing two parameter. And what we are returning? We are saying that okay. So this function is also defined successfully. So these two functions we have already discussed about what is the sequence function and what is the combined function. So I'm not going to discuss again. So this is a two function which we have created. Now let's call aggregate by key function on top of this RDD. So let me first create a variable, and on top of this RDD, let's call aggregate by key. And in the aggregate by key, first we need to initialize the accumulator with 0, and then we need to call this sequence operation function, and second is we need to call this combine operation function. Let's run it. This RDD has been created successfully with the help of this aggregate by key function. Let me print this. Let me print this RDD and see the result. So this is the output. So here what we are doing the sum aggregation. So what is the sum aggregation for key operation 1624? So if we figure it out here, this is the operation has a maximum value. We can see this is the value, this is the value, this is the value, and what is the aggregated value of operation 1624, and how many times this operation key appears as a record in this RDD. This is for the 8 times. IT total values are sum aggregate of IT key is 213. Total number of records are 5. Management, what is the total sum aggregate of management key? 1092. And how many times management key appears in this RDD? This is the 4 times. So this is a marketing same. This is sum aggregate, and this is the total number of marketing key appears in the RDD. In this exercise, we have seen how we are going to use aggregate by key on top of the RDD. Let's go to the PPT. Thank you. If you like content of my video, then please subscribe my channel, like it, comment on it, and press the bell icon to get notification whenever I add videos.